So let me ask you a question. You can't repent, or you can't go back
You
to the
can
Lord and
repent.
say, all right, so
You
but you said don't be going running back to the Lord.
I
So,
said you shouldn't wait until you get yourself into a situation and then be looking for God to help you when you had no regard for God before.
all right, but now you made the mistake, and now you gotta, God, I'm sorry, I didn't know. I'm sorry, God.
Okay,
Like
you repent,
what?
right? You repent, right? You had a kid out of wedlock, you repent. Okay, fine. Your focus should be the child. You got women out here that had a baby, they're not with the baby father anymore for whatever reason. Why is looking for a new man your priority? Why is your child not your priority? You have no clue the amount of people I know who are raped and molested by their
We
by
gotta be
their.
easy.
And
We
I'm
gotta
not
be
saying I'm
easy on
not
those
saying it's
words.
all. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that's
We're
all.
not allowed to say
But
the R word.
Hey,
oh,
we gotta
I'm
be.
sorry. Great. People who were touched on by their step parent. And I know that everyone is not like that. I'm not saying that everybody's like that. But had that parent waited until their child was grown and out of the house to then seek some companionship, as opposed to putting their child's safety second to their desire to have a partner, that might have not taken place. Children deserve their biological parents.
And now that it has taken place, what is the solution?
Focus on your child. Point
Okay,
blank period.
and so now when another man come, because you know that sex is a part of life, and that has to happen to continue life. So when another man meets this young lady, um is she supposed to refuse him,
Yes.
or why?
Why would you want to risk bringing another man around your child if you make the mistake of thinking that he is something that he is not? Whose life is going to be turned upside down?
All right,
But
so
the
what
risk is actually
But there
greater.
is, I have a point here. There
So,
is
hey, let me ask you
biological
this.
fathers.
So,
Hold on, there is biological fathers that are abused and rape their
That's true,
own
but
kids.
majority of the time it's not the biological father. You're absolutely 100% right, but majority of the time it
But
is not the biological father.
so let me ask you a
you're
question. So
sometimes
these bulldaggers can't have babies then, because neither one of them having kids, right? They getting
if,
falsely
if, if
inseminated,
you're
so
if
they
you're
step
living
parents.
if you're living that rainbow flag lifestyle, you shouldn't eat you don't need to have no kids, because children
Damn,
shouldn't be around that, in my personal.
damn.
You pick your side, stay there.
Bulldaggers don't stand a chance.
I think
So,
Curbs, did you have something to say?
yeah, because sometimes people just aren't good parents, women or men. If you happen to get knocked up, and let's say the woman is let's put it on the woman this time. She's a crackhead and she decided to choose drugs over her kid. Is the father not supposed to ever find love and find somebody to fill in that? Because at the end of the day, it's not just about the two people involved, it's about the children. And I think that's the part that you're missing.
No, I got
And
that part. My thing is,
so,
why would I take on a child that's not mine? I don't benefit from it.
oh
He
no,
picked
I
that
hear
track.
what you're saying, and
the
it
government
sounds like
does it every week
it
when
comes.
y'all get your goddamn checks.
Hold on,
The
Pink
That's
Lip.
government
Let
It
plays
Curbs
sounds
finish.
stepdaddy all the
it
goddamn
sounds like
time.
it's come
Pink,
from.
let Curbs finish and then
I,
you go next.
I want
Go
to
ahead,
finish.
Curbs.
It just sounds like it comes from a very selfish place, and I understand. Like, if you don't have a kid and you don't want to do that for yourself, I get it. You don't have no kids, cool. And if you decide to choose a man that doesn't have, that's cool. But there's other kids out here that do need that, and if somebody wants to step in and help, I don't think that they should be called weak or names. And I just like that. That's a goofy statement to even make, because
then it'll be
everybody gets to choose what they do. Now, if you decide I choose not to do this, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to, to try to make fun or make somebody's
who
wrong
did I
for
make fun?
literally saving a life. These are
Who did I
children.
make?
These are children who may not, if they don't have a mom or dad in their life, or they don't have this other person to help them. Now, what does their life look like when they grow up?
Who did I make fun of?
The people
So
that do the most craziest shit, the killings,
Hold on, y'all.
Who
Let us.
did
killing
I make
themselves,
fun
all the
of?
types of stuff.
Who did I make fun of?
She
The
said
people
because
who
you're
decide
calling
to
them
step
weak.
in, like calling them weak. Like calling them
Okay,
weak
how is that making
it's like
fun of
it's like
somebody?
a
That's my opinion. That's not
mockery.
making. That's not me making fun of somebody. That's just my personally. But if I was
Don't get
berating the person, then that'd be different.
I'm
But I
not gonna
didn't
tell
make
you,
fun
y'all.
of anyone.
A person may feel
Um,
degraded by
Hmm?
your.
I think can I?
That well, if
Can I
that's
say
how they
something?
feel, it's people that say way worse.
I know Hank wanted to go next.
No, it's okay, and there's nothing wrong with you having your opinion. I think that's what these type of platforms are for. Everybody is up to have their own opinion. But what I'm saying is to say that else is wrong, weak for doing for them and help someone else's life, it's just like why?
How
But
many
if you
men
have
get
to do
screwed
it,
over by
cool. I
doing
get
exactly
that.
what you just said, right? How many men get screwed
Okay.
over? Let's be very clear. You could sit there and help a woman take care of another man's baby. If she wants to, she will still cheat on you. If you marry her, she will still leave you if that's what she wants to do. And then she can turn around and put you on child support for that same child. How exactly does the man benefit? You're gonna save somebody else's life while ruining your own, possibly? For some coochie?
We know he don't benefit.
When a lot of them are still smashing their baby fathers? That man usually still have access to that pussy. Let's be very clear.
Sometimes
I can't speak for everybody
it
else,
sounds
but
like
I
a
have
lot
to
of
be. I can't speak for everybody else, and everybody's
seen in
situation
your
is not
experience.
like that. Every situation isn't the same. But for me personally, I'd have to be a goofball to sit up there and take care of a child that doesn't belong to me. And the only benefit is the child is getting the benefit. I don't get nothing out of it. I could sit there and help a man take care of his child. He could still turn around and cheat on me.
That's
So
negative thinking.
that must have been like an
No,
experience
that's
you've seen in the
realistic
All right, hold
past
on,
thinking.
or
hold on,
something.
L.
Like
Hold on,
That's
L. You got to give
realistic.
Curse. Hold on, L. You got to give Curse a chance to respond. Go ahead, Curse.
that's not the case for everybody.
I
Like
just
I
said
know
that.
plenty of families have their blended families. Maybe two people had kids on the other side that ended up getting together, and it works fine. Like I think maybe what you've seen has been tainted, and not to say that can't happen, but that's not every single case. Everything is
Does
expected
anybody know?
situation.
Does anybody know the failure rate for blended families? Anybody know the failure rate?
Yeah, it's like
Nobody.
70%.
Oh, okay.
Do you?
Do you know?
Why? There's a reason for it.
But there's also 16% of children in America that are inside of a blended family. So I do
But
think those
I'm
things
talking
deserve
about
to
the
be low.
failure rate. It has a very high failure rate for a reason. I'm not saying that all blended families fail. I'm not saying that there aren't situations where it does work, but it is rare.
Are you talking
Children
about marriages? Or are you
thrive.
talking about just boyfriend and girlfriend, right?
Children thrive when they are raised in a household with their biological parents. Children that are raised in blended families, they often do not turn out better than children raised by single mothers. When your first family didn't work out, the biological family didn't work out, and then you in a blended family and that don't work out, what type of trauma do you think that does to the child? How do you think they start to look at relationships?
Now y'all all see what I be going through.
I don't disagree. This is coming from a standpoint of doing it right the first time.
I feel your pain, OG.
So you are gone from that.
But what I'm saying is,
that's how I was raised.
Hold on, L. You got to let her finish.
I'm one of 5 children, and my parents were married. They were pastors. We were born all from the same family, and my parents were married until my father passed away. So I understand having your 2 biological parents. Yes, you thrive, but unfortunately, that's not really the world we live in. What is the statistic for single parenthood? So all those children should just get thrown away, and all those children don't deserve to have a male figure in their life or a female figure in their life.
Deserve a lot, but unfortunately, a lot of times, and I can only speak for the Black community, for some reason, Black people don't really think Black children deserve much, because if they did, they do better. I don't have no kids, right? If I ever decide to have a child, I would love my child enough to make sure that they are not a bastard. I would love my child enough to make sure that when it comes to picking a father for them, I'm going to pick the creme de la creme, because I feel like my unborn deserves that much. I can't speak for everybody else. I can only speak for me. And
you just contradicted yourself, though.
In the event that the relationship doesn't work out, if he leaves or if he dies, then I will remain by myself and focus on raising my child. The last thing that's going to be on my mind is, oh, I need to get a new man. What happens if I pick a new man and that man has a flaw that I didn't see in him? And now I have to explain to my child why they were touched by a man that's in their life because I brought him around.
So it sounds like whenever you say you're going to pick a man after the original father is gone or deceased, it seems like you're very absolute on the negative outcome of picking a father.
realistic.
Even though
I've
you
had
said you're gonna pick the creme de la creme.
Hold on, yo, you gotta let him finish, L.
no,
You're
yeah. When
saying
it
you're
comes
Yo,
saying
you gotta let him
absolute,
finish, L. You gotta let him finish.
you're saying you're saying you're absolute, basically absolute negativity from picking the next man up.
oh my Lord Jesus. You see, I get a little irritated because it seems like when I speak the truth or I'm speaking in reality, because that is the reality. You could pick somebody who's a pervert. That's not me being negative. That's the reality. You want to know how I know that's the reality? Because I know people that it's happened to. I had
Well, okay,
somebody come to
Hold
I
on,
had
bro.
somebody
Let him
come to
finish.
my house after she was almost raped by her mother's boyfriend. That's not me being negative. That is the reality of it.
Hold on,
I
hold on, hold
understand.
on, hold on,
And
hold
I
on,
know
hold on.
people who don't live with
Everybody,
parents. Like,
everybody. I want to get Balance in there. I want to get Mistaken in there because they haven't had a chance to talk. Go ahead, Balance.
Can you hear me?
where'd the
Yeah, we
red guy
can.
go?
Okay. So,
You know, too,
I,
it's been talking, so I just want to make sure this hasn't been people that hasn't been talked at all. So I just want to get them in there too.
she sounds like she's coming from a very individualistic view. And I can understand because I used to think like that when I was 19, and I was very young and naive to the world. And, I used to always think that if I don't have children, I'm going to marry a man who doesn't have children and we're going to have our own family. But if we're really being realistic about the state of what America is today and the state of what our culture is today, the majority of us either come from a broken family or we're raising a broken family. And it is unfortunate, but I don't have an individualistic mindset. I think about the kids, right? So we're tribal by nature as people. And I think the most important thing are the children. So it's not always about how I feel or what I want. Because if I had it my way, yeah, I would definitely want that perfect family. But that's not realistic to what we're living in. So if we're talking about reality, the reality is that's not the majority of our families. So I'm not going to say that if a man had, and a lot of our brothers did have babies as teenagers, 19, 20. A lot of our brothers, and they're great men at 35. But I'm not going to throw them away and throw their children away because they made bad decisions or decisions they weren't expecting to make when they were 19, 20, 21. That's a part of life. So, but like I said, I thought like her at 19, and I also was very religious at 19 too. And I would throw the Bible at people. But realistically, a lot of people don't live by it. And that's okay. And to each his own. I don't have any issue with somebody choosing to live their life how they want and choosing not to be a step parent. But I have men in my family that are step parents and they're extremely strong men. It takes an extremely strong man, in my opinion, to take care of a child that did not come from him and to actually care about that child and care about their child's well-being and raise that child into a man, into a woman that did not come from him. That takes strength. There's nothing weak about that. So honestly, I think that's very offensive to call men that do that weak. And I'm talking about the majority of them. You may have certain men that may do it for sex, but in actuality, it takes a lot of honor to do that. And I have a lot of respect for them. And so that's how I feel about it. And like I said, I thought like that when I was younger, but I think, life experience will grow people up and teach people more about the world, and they may have different views. Cause like I said, I thought like that at 19. And now that I'm older, I'm like, no, I don't think like that anymore. And I can look at the community and say, yo, sometimes it's okay to be a step parent. Every situation is not going to be perfect. And I also don't have any children myself. So yeah, that's how I feel about it, JR.
Okay. Elle, did you want to respond? Or?
I disagree with everything she said. I said what I said, and I'm standing on it. You're raising another man's kids. In my opinion, you're weak. I don't see the strength in taking on a nut you didn't bust.
Okay. We're gonna go to Miss.
Can I say?
Hold on one second. Sarah. Let me get to Mistaken. We'll swing it back to Kelly. And then I want to get Shantae in there too. Go ahead. Mistaken.
Can I get in there too, JR?
Yeah, I got you.
I kind of feel a little bit like with what Balancing Codes was saying. I don't think it makes a man weak or a woman weak making the choice to step in and be parent for the, be a step parent for the, the other, biological parent that's not there. In terms of the benefit, I think it all depends on what that other step parent brings to the table in regards to what they are pouring into that child. Because I've also seen where in my family, where there have been step parents and the kids actually, after they've gotten older, have then turned around and help with taking care of the stepfather or the stepmom, because that's how much of an influence and positive, benefit that they received growing up. And that's their way of thanking them, knowing that they didn't have to do it, but they chose to do it. So I don't think it's weak at all when somebody steps in a position that they don't have to be in and pour into somebody to make them great, to make them better. I just don't think that's weak at all. But I also feel that, where I agree with her is, what you can handle. And if you know that that's not a position you ever want to be in, then you make that choice to not do that. You deal with somebody who don't have children, and that's it. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You know what you want, then that's what you go for. But for somebody else who chooses differently, I don't think it's fair in calling them weak, because they choose to step in for somebody else. That's my opinion on that.
All right, Curves, you there? Did you want to say something? We'll go to Hink. You on mute? Okay.
No,
all right, go ahead.
I
Hink.
had said what I wanted to say.
Okay. All right, go ahead, Hink.
Hey man, y'all little bastards don't stand a chance, baby. Fuck your kids. That's what she said. Once you have kids, y'all don't stand a chance. So let me say this. They don't respect the men, the fathers, the biological fathers. What makes you think they're gonna respect the stepfathers?
I'm gonna disagree with you on that.
Men, period, don't get the respect that they deserve. We don't at all. Y'all show it every day. This is one example right here. She's calling a man weak because he takes on a responsibility of another woman and man's mistakes or decision. This is no respect. None at all. So guess what? You motherfuckers ain't got a chance, man. So as far as family, we're not talking about family. Because if you're not married, if you're unmarried and you look at get a family, the average woman got a child. The average woman has at least one child, some two. So how we making marriages and making families together if we're not getting married? You can't be, because most of y'all have kids. So if that's the case, only people gonna get married is the people who don't have kids, and everybody else is gonna have to sit out there and suffer. So I'm gonna keep on coming over, and I'm gonna dick your mothers down and not give a shit, because I'm not gonna marry your ass. You're gonna not be my stepson or my stepdaughter. I'm just gonna lay meat in them all goddamn night, all goddamn day. I want one exception for me, because there's plenty of baby mamas out here. Plenty of them. And they all need loving by Hink. I'm here for your hoes. And I'm gonna knock them down. And I'm gonna lie to your whole ass on the way out the goddamn door.
Okay. All right, go ahead, Kelly Connections, and then Red Couch. I know you say you disagreed.
Yeah.
I think Balance has something to say.
Okay, go ahead, Balance. No?
Go ahead, Balance.
I think the thing about YouTube that's funny, people have all of these speaking points that's not reality. They don't live that way. Even Hank, what you just said, as a man who's been divorced and now you're trying to get remarried to a woman who, whatever, your situation. And I know you have, this is not, people say this on YouTube, but they're not living this. That's the part that really is strange to me. And
well, Balance, I'm saying
hold on, Hank, hold on. Let her finish.
Okay.
And not just you, Hank, a lot of people, I think, YouTube, people just say these speaking points that they hear and they regurgitate the same stuff over and over and over, because it's like, yeah, it sounds great. But in reality, people are not living this way.
And like I said before, there are a lot of great men that had children early and now they're older in life and they want to be married and have families. I'm not going to say they're not good enough because they had a child at 20, at 21. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Men and women alike, people change, develop, mature. Like anything else, they mature. You could have been in a gang at 19. You could have been anything, and then you grow and mature out of it. Like, the judgmental that comes with YouTube, I really don't know where it comes from or why, but I think people got to worry about themselves and their own lives and what they want to do, and not judge others and call them weak or call them anything. Like, do what you do in your life, focus on what you need to work on in your life, but I'm not going to sit and call somebody else weak because what they decide or they don't decide to do. Like, okay.
Let me
say this real fast, man. I don't totally disagree with L saying. If my son has no kids, I would never encourage him to date or marry a woman with kids. But if he has kids, no, you can't sit there and say you can't date a woman with kids. You sound like a goddamn hypocrite. So I wouldn't do that. But, you know, as far as me, I don't have no problem with it. None at all. I have kids. I don't have a problem dating a single married woman with kids. Again, Balance, I was just saying this to be bullshit and funny because this is a damn joke.
That's my point. That's my point.
We don't care about it. We don't care about each other. We don't care about each other. That's just lack of love. That's all that is. To call a man weak because he's helping a woman out, marrying a woman, and raising the kids. I mean, again, the government does it every week for some of these heifers.
May I interject?
They play stepdaddy all the goddamn time.
May I
But
interject?
I ain't sending your money back. Talking about your government. I don't want none of your assistance. I don't want none of your Section 8 home.
Yeah,
I
go ahead.
don't want none of your welfare check.
You guys notice that the cultures, right? Because let's be clear. Like, when it comes to the Black community, we are at the bottom. The cultures that thrive are comprised majority of nuclear families. The cultures that do very well so because the nuclear family structure is just about the only family structure. And when people want to leave the hood and go to the suburbs, those suburbs are comprised of mainly nuclear families. It's only other cultures don't tolerate, oh, she made a mistake at 19. You make a mistake and have a baby out of wedlock, in other cultures you will get cut off. They don't take having kids out of wedlock lightly. And because they know the ramifications or how detrimental it is to have a baby out of wedlock, and they don't tolerate that mess, they tend to do very well. But in the Black community, where Black men are expected to be the cleanup men, or more so Black men being the cleanup men than vice versa. But once again, the communities that thrive are built off of nuclear families. And even when it comes to the Black community, it was not always this way. Way back then, and I know times have changed, but way back in the day, Black people were getting married and then having children, and that is when we were doing the best and we were the strongest. We've gotten weak over the decades.